So, today I want to talk to you about how our role as vets is going to have to evolve in a precision medicine future. And I think you're going to hear a lot of the themes that Nancy has talked about in her compelling talk just now, reiterated again in mine. Now, I'm going to start just by quickly making sure we're all on the same page with the definition of precision medicine. Formally, it means an approach to medicine where we consider an animal's genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors in our diagnosis, management, and prognosis of disease. But actually today we're incorporating a much wider definition. We're thinking about personalised treatments, how we can make sure we get the right treatment for the individual. And in the next 5 minutes, I'm just going to think about the 3 major elements of our role as vets and have a little bit of a think about how those might have to evolve for us to really find the value in precision medicine. And just, if we think about those elements, let's start by thinking about our skills. And our skills, simply speaking, are how we acquire information from an animal or a client, be that directly or through technology. And our knowledge, that's how we analyse that information and we assess the wide range of potential treatment options. And then we have our client relationship building, how we translate the output of our skills and knowledge into a bespoke treatment plan to ensure the health and welfare of the animals under our care. So I'm going to start by thinking about our skills. What is going to have to change? Whatever the future looks like, whether we call it a precision medicine one or otherwise, everyone is agreed there's going to be an awful lot more data. And for us to really be able to take advantage of that data, we need to be comfortable looking at the sort of ways that we're going to have access to that data. We're going to need to learn how to learn quickly about new software. And Greg and I are going to talk later about how the wide range of emerging technologies might actually crystallize into those consultations of the future. But at a minimum, we're going to need to be able to access and consider data from many different sensors, from new imaging modalities, from genetic reports, and from black box algorithms. And with so many inputs generating so much data, and often so much earlier in a disease progression, there's a much higher chance of contradictions and uncertainties, and we're going to need to develop the skills of filtering through all that data, identifying the bits that are important and useful, and using those to plan a route forward. Let's think about our knowledge, how we analyse that information and think about what we could do. I mean, we've always kind of relied on the fact that vets know most of the answers, right? As Nancy said, that's what our training's been about. But every year there are 2.5 million academic papers published. And as Nancy said again, it's far too much for any one individual, even any one real profession, to keep on top of. And so that means that with so much new information, we can't be just thinking that we know the answers. I mean, if we think about those academic papers, although that's a huge amount of stuff, that's actually fairly public domain. And so our clients are going to have just as much access to that information as their vets. But our clients, be they owners or farmers, are embracing new technologies that give them huge amounts of data about their specific animal, data that we don't really have access to. And so this means that we vets can't really be seen as omniscient. We can no longer be seen as the source of all information. And if our clients don't need us to be the source or even expect us to be the source, then the value that we can deliver to them has got to change too. We can think about it as moving from knowing data to knowing what to do with data. And with all of this increase in data, we're going to be out of our comfort zone at many times, and so we need to know where to seek help. And at the moment, the specialists that we seek help from are typically within the profession. But as time goes by, that is increasingly less likely to be the case. We need to know where to seek help from a very wide range of different specialists. And finally, let's talk about our relationship building. And again, there are two major points here. Firstly, we need to go from being late service providers to being early advisors. If we're going to realise the value of precision medicine, we need to be seeing people early in a disease progress, because if we get that data, we can intervene and we can change the course of that disease. If we don't see them at the right time, no matter how good and how amazing our newfound abilities are, we cannot use it to give value. And I'm really excited about the debate we have later on what customer-centered looks like, because fundamentally, if we're not seeing people at the right time and getting them to interact with us in the right way, we just can't get the value of a precision medicine approach. And finally, the last thing that we're really going to have to do as vets in our relationship building is to help our clients navigate this new, uncertain world. We've always been used to having animals that are basically sick and animals that are basically healthy, but now we're going to have this increasing group of patients in waiting, animals that have risk factors, but we don't know whether or indeed when they will develop that disease. And that's really hard for people to deal with. We see this in the medical profession all the time. Humans are we're very definite creatures, we're very black and white, we like yes and no. And actually having to understand about risk profiles and likelihoods and possibilities is really hard. And I think that's going to be a really key role of vets in this future, is helping our clients to navigate this new, uncertain world. So let me just recap very briefly before I hand back to Chris. If we think about what our skills are going to have to do, what we're going to need from our skills, we need to be able to learn about software. And we need to be able to filter out the important things from the huge amount of data that we will have access to. If we think about our knowledge, we're going to need to know what to do with data, and we're going to need to know where to seek help. And finally, if we think about our relationship building, we need to be early advisors, and we need to help guide our clients through this new world. And those needs are very different in some ways from the job that we do now. And it can be a little bit overwhelming to think about the needs that we are going to put on these elements of our role. But if we take a step back and think about society's need of vets, it's the same that it's always been, and that is to ensure the health and welfare of animals under our care.